about that time, are we not?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I have 7, yep.
Yes.
Good
7
evening,
on the dot.
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to welcome you to the Town of Newburgh Planning Board meeting of July 2nd, 2020. We have 3 agenda items this evening. We have the Young Subdivision, which is a public hearing for a 4-lot subdivision. We have the Madden Subdivision, which is a public hearing for a 3-lot subdivision. And we have the Hammond Subdivision, which is an initial appearance for a 5-lot subdivision on Cronk Road. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order with a roll call vote.
Present.
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 Present. Present.
And with us this evening tonight, we have planning board consultants and associated staff. Who can just introduce yourselves.
Dominic Credisco, Planning Board Counsel.
Pat Hines with McGoey Hauser and Etzel Consulting Engineers.
Ken Worsted, Creighton Manning Engineering, Traffic Consultant.
Thank you. At this time, we'll turn the meeting over to Pat Hines.
Sure, if the folks on the video would like to join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
with
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Before we enter the formal meeting agenda items, I'd like to introduce Dominic Credisco, Planning Board Attorney, to discuss with us COVID-19 and how we are now having our meetings. Dominic?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The meeting tonight is being held consistent with the governor's executive orders related to the pandemic. These executive orders have been in place since March and have been extended. The current executive orders are expiring on July 7th, and so we'll have to see what new restrictions or relief is involved with future executive orders. But for this particular meeting, it's being done consistent with the existing executive orders, which allow for public hearings to be held during this pandemic, provided that there is the opportunity for the public to participate in either a video or a teleconference, as well as for the ability to comment following the holding of the public hearing. And the public hearings scheduled tonight have been duly noticed as being consistent with that. And they both have a written comment period of 10 days following any closure of those public hearings. The town's website will be updated with a link to the recording of this meeting, as well as a posting of the minutes once they become available. All of that is being done consistent with the governor's executive orders that are currently in place.
So, item number 1, the Young Subdivision, located on 50 Millhouse Road. It's an AR zone being represented by Engineering and Surveying Properties. I'll ask Ms. Emmer to read the notice of hearing.
Town of Newburgh Planning Board, notice of hearing. Please take notice that the Planning Board of the Town of Newburgh, Orange County, New York, will hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 276 of the town law on the application of Young Subdivision, Project 2020-02, for a 4-lot subdivision on Millhouse Road in the town of Newburgh, designated on the town's tax maps as Section 8, Block 1, Lot 52.2. Project proposed a 4-lot subdivision created from 2 existing parcels, resulting in 2 new residential lots. The project involves parcels of property located in the town of Marlborough, Ulster County, New York, designated on town of Marlborough tax maps as Section 108.004, Block 5, Lot 20.21, and 20.3. The total combined parcel size is 10.69 acres. All new residential structures, wells, septic, and driveways are proposed to be located in the town of Marlborough. Portions of the lot located in each of the towns will be legally bound together through filed documents in each county. The project is located in the town of Newburgh AR Zone District. A public hearing will be held on the second day of July 2020 at 7 p.m., at which time all interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard. Due to the public health and safety concerns related to COVID-19, the planning board will not be meeting in person in accordance with the governor's executive order 202.1. The July 2nd, 2020 planning board meeting will be held by a teleconference, and a transcript will be posted on the town's website at a later date. The public will have an opportunity to see and hear the meeting live and provide comments either during the meeting or by U.S. mail or email up to 10 days following the posting of the transcript on the town's website. The public can watch the meeting via Zoom. The Zoom app must be first downloaded and installed on smartphones, tablets, or computers from www.zoom.us. The details for connecting to that, I won't bother reading because either you're here or you're not. Comments may be sent to the address above or preferably to the planning board at the town of Newburgh.org. Comments must be received no later than 10 days after the posting of the transcript on the town's website. By order of the town of Newburgh Planning Board, John P. Ewasutin, Chairman, Planning Board, Town of Newburgh, dated 17 June 2020.
Thank you, Ken. Ken Hines, would you discuss with us the public hearing tonight, who the lead agency is for this project, and procedurally?
Sure. This is the second public hearing to be held on this project. The Town of Marlborough Planning Board also held a public hearing on the project back in May. Comments were received at that time. After that public hearing, the Town of Marlborough declared a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and a written elaboration of that negative declaration was issued. The negative declaration was also noticed in the environmental notice bulletin, as the project was identified as a type 1 action due to its proximity to the Gomez Mill House. So the environmental review for the project was completed with the Town of Marlborough serving as lead agency. The logic behind that was that the 2 new house sites, the 2 new septics and wells, and all of the driveways access a Town of Marlborough highway. So all the new activities that were in the Town of Marlborough. So this is the second public hearing held because the project spans the county and town lines. All parties noticed for the Marlborough, we noticed each municipality for both public hearings within 500 feet. So the Town of Newburgh and the Town of Marlborough area was also noticed for this.
Thank you. At this point, we'll ask Engineering Properties to come forward to make a presentation on the 4-lot subdivision for Young.
Good evening, Jay Samuelson from Engineering and Surveying Properties. As was discussed, this is a combined subdivision that encompasses both the town of Marlborough and the town of Newburgh. The total of all of the parcels involved is 10.69 acres. There are 2 existing dwellings, one within the town of Marlborough and the second one within the town of Newburgh. It is a proposed 4-lot subdivision with 2 new dwellings. Both of the new dwellings will be in the town of Marlborough, along with their wells and septics. Lot 1 that's being highlighted now will have its own new driveway. Lot 4 with the second new dwelling will use a shared driveway with the existing driveway for Lot 3 to reduce the number of driveways onto Millhouse Road. The plans have been submitted to the Ulster County Health Department, which have been reviewed and approved by their office. We did an archaeological study on the site. And as stated, we are working with the attorneys in both towns and the applicant's attorney to develop language and documents that can be filed in both county clerk's office that will tie any of the lots that span the county line and have property owned by the same person in both towns and both counties, so that those cannot be separated for any purpose at all. So they will always be together, so they cannot be foreclosed on, sold, or transferred individually. It's pretty much the end of my presentation.
We'll turn the meeting. Any comments from planning board members at this time?
No, none. No.
No.
No comment. At this time, we'll turn the meeting over to planning board attorney Dominic Fabisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 people that are here attending the meeting that are not, presenters tonight or members of the board. And so at this point, they're muted, but I would like to, with your permission, to unmute them to see if they have any comments on this particular public hearing.
Thank you. You can unmute them.
Okay, so everybody has been given the ability to unmute on their end. So if there is anyone here that wishes to speak tonight on the Young Subdivision public hearing, now's your opportunity to identify yourself and provide your comments.
So before you do, we would ask you identify yourself, state your name for the board. There is a stenographic record of this being kept. And if you could give your address so the board would have a perspective as to your point of view on the project.
There's a person on the phone who called in with the number 0363. And then there's also 2 individuals, one with the name Lena Wu, and the other one that has a number of letters. It looks like RSCUOLA. They've all remained mute, Mr. Chairman. They were given the opportunity to unmute themselves, and at this point they have not spoken.
One more time.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan Chella on 0363.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah, 0363, Jonathan Chella.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We'll identify you as. Thank you very much.
Okay, Dominic. So, for the records.
Good evening. I'd like to make a public comment.
Okay, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Joseph Smythe, S-M-Y-T-H, resident of 71 Millhouse Road. I wanted to comment on this project on drainage on Millhouse Road and flooding issues on this road resulting from the Young property. Due to the elevation, there's runoff, and it does flood the road. It does flood my property, and I know it's a concern to other residents and the Gomez Mill House as well, because what happens is we have large standing pools of water after storms, and due to that, vehicles traveling Millhouse Road have to sway around the puddles, and now many residents are walking our roads with baby carriages as well after storms when it clears up, but the puddles are still standing. And also concerned about mosquitoes. And when the museum reopens after COVID, they're going to have buses and vans that will travel Millhouse Road from Old Post Road, because they cannot access the Gomez Museum from 9W entrance because of a weight limit of 3 tons on the bridge. And originally, when they subdivided the property back in 2006, the engineer of the project told me that they would put in drainage. So I think that if you're clear cutting this many acres of land, drainage should be looked at due to the elevation in the rear of the property, and there's runoff. I tried to submit some photos, but was unable to online earlier. So that's my concern. I'm not against the development of the property. I just would like to see drainage for the road and the safety of the fellow residents and vehicles passing, and that's about it.
Before we turn your comments over to Pat Hines, I have a question of my own. Did you attend the public hearing that the town of Marlborough had on this project? And did you raise the same questions at that meeting?
Yes, I did.
And their response to you was?
Excuse me?
And their reply to your questions were?
They would follow up on it, I believe.
So I think I can jump in here, as I was on both meetings as well. Since the Marlborough meeting, the question of drainage improvements came up. We pulled, and actually Jay's office also pulled, the original 2005 subdivision, and there is no reference to any drainage improvements within the existing roadway. I do note that it sounds like the drainage conditions are existing conditions with the town's road. I made a note to discuss those with the Marlborough Highway Superintendent and the town of Newburgh. The majority of this parcel fronts in the town of Marlborough on the roadway. So I will forward these concerns to the Marlborough Highway Superintendent. If there are ponding conditions in an existing that are causing issues, maybe they can address them, but it doesn't. This project does not exceed the threshold where it would require a stormwater management report. The town of Marlborough and the town of Newburgh are both traditional land use regulated MS4 communities and have stormwater management regulations that would kick in if this project exceeded a certain threshold or was constructing new roadways. This isn't the case here. There's 2 new lots being proposed, 2 new structures being proposed, and the other 2 lots are an existing condition. So it doesn't pass the threshold to require a stormwater management analysis. But I will relay the comments of the existing ponding conditions to both of the highway superintendents.
I do appreciate that, excuse me.
Sure.
And, you know, due to runoff, and if there's going to be additional runoff, of course, I'm concerned about my well water and my neighbor's well water as well, if there's going to be additional runoff from that we don't have now. Thank you.
Cadisco.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, is there anyone else here that would like to speak on the Young subdivision?
Dominic, I believe Mr. Sella said he would wait his turn, but I don't hear him coming on the line right now. Maybe
He's representing a later project.
Okay,
that's correct. There is one other individual named Lena Wu, who is.
I think she's the reporter.
Ah,
I think she's the
my
reporter
mistake.
on paper.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I did not realize that.
Okay, Dominic, for the records procedurally, from the time the minutes are posted, can you just walk us through that one more time?
Yes, so consistent with the governor's executive orders, the public comment will be accepted for 10 days following the posting of the minutes of this meeting. And once those are done, they will be placed on the town's website. Comments can be submitted thereafter and will be received up to 10 days. The preference is to receive them by email, and that was stated in the notice with your email address. And so they could be easily distributed, but comments could also be sent by regular mail if that is what occurs.
Due to the holiday, posting of the minutes, would you be in agreement that August 6th would be a appropriate time frame for setting this for an agenda item.
That's correct.
Sorry, Dominic. Okay, so any further comments from the planning board members?
No.
Not this time.
Okay, then for the records, the Young subdivision, which we've just heard, it'll be an agenda item for a meeting of August 6th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that the board take a vote at this time to close the public hearing with the receipt of public comment as we've described.
Thank you, Mr. Bissell. Would someone make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Stephanie DeLuca, a second by Cliff Brown. Correct?
Okay.
Thank you. Have a roll call vote, please. Start with Frank Gallen.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you all. Our second item of business this evening is the Madden subdivision. It's located on Orchard Drive, a 3-lot subdivision, and it's being represented by, I believe, Larry Marshall.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
At this point, excuse me?
I'm sorry.
At this point, we'll introduce the public hearing notice by Ken Memrick. Ken?
Notice of hearing. Please take notice the planning board of the town of Newburgh, Orange County, New York will hold a public hearing pursuant to section 276 of the town law on the application of Madden Subdivision Project 2020-06 for a 3-lot subdivision located at 757 Orchard Drive. The 3-lot subdivision will result in the creation of 2 new lots in an existing lot which contains a single-family residential structure. These lots will be served by on-site well and septic systems. Driveways are proposed to serve each lot. The project is located in the town's AR zoning district and is known on the town tax maps as Section 1, Block 1, Lot 132. A public hearing will be held on the second day of July 2020 at 7 p.m., at which time all interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard.
Okay.
Due to the public health and safety concerns related to COVID-19, the planning board will not be meeting in person. In accordance with the governor's executive order 202.1, the July 2nd, 2020 planning board meeting will be held via teleconference, and a transcript will be posted on the town's website at a later date. The public will have an opportunity to see and hear the meeting live and provide comments during the meeting or by U.S. mail or email up to 10 days following the posting of the transcript on the town's website. The public can watch the meeting via Zoom. The Zoom app must be first downloaded and installed on smartphones, tablets, and computers from www.zoom.us. The details on that I won't read at this point. Comments may be sent by mail to the address above or preferably by email to planningboard@townofnewburgh.org. Comments must be received no later than 10 days following the posting of the transcript on the town's website. By order of the Town of Newburgh Planning Board, John P. Ewasut, Chairman, Planning Board, Town of Newburgh, dated 17 June 2020.
Thank you, Ken Memrick. At this point in the meeting, we'll turn it over to the engineering firm that's representing the Madden subdivision, and the P would be Larry Marshall. Larry?
Good evening. My name is Larry Marshall, and I'm the engineer for the proposed subdivision. As stated in the notice, this is a proposed 3-lot subdivision of an existing parcel located just to the south of the town and county lines between the town of Plattekill and Ulster County and the town of Newburgh. This is an existing parcel that has an existing single-family residence on it. And as stated in the notice, there are two new homes being proposed on the property. To serve those homes, we have shown or have designed wells and septic system locations in accordance with Orange County Department of Health regulations, meeting all the necessary required setbacks. The access to the property will be from Orchard Drive. Individual driveways located adjacent to one another with a utility pole that's located right in between the two. These driveways will line up with two existing driveways that are located on the west side of Orchard Drive. The site distance for these driveways does meet the minimum requirement with some minor brush clearing along the sides of the road, just due to general maintenance. In addition to this, one of the things that is unique about this property is the existing utility line that services Lot 1. As it currently is installed, it travels through the proposed Lot 2. As part of the subdivision, the utility line, electric and cable and telephone line underground would have to be rerouted. There will be an easement over proposed lots 2 and 3 for the relocation of that from the existing utility pole until it meets back up to the existing line on Lot 1. So an easement will have to be filed with that. There is we have agreed to the stipulation that that line be relocated prior to the filing of any subdivision map.
Questions from planning board members?
No additional.
No, none at this time.
I was interested where it says deed gore. It looks like a considerable size partial property. Could you tell me a little bit about that, Lawrence?
Sure. There's when we did the original, it's not part of this subdivision. When we did the original subdivision or survey of the parcel, back when we did the subdivision many years ago, the surveyor of record, from my firm, had recognized in plotting the adjoining deeds that there was actually a deed gore between subject parcel, our parcel, and the adjoining parcel. I can't read the name there. I apologize, but basically it's unclaimed land as per the deeds of record. So it's not. That's what we recognized as. It's similar to a deed overlap, but the opposite. Basically, the adjoining deeds don't line up like a jigsaw puzzle. There actually is a gap in between the two deeds.
Thank you.
And as you notice, the lands that are contiguous are the lands of John and Harmon Hammond, who will soon be hearing, if not from them, it's in the same neighborhood. Any other questions or comments from planning board members?
No.
Good comment, Ken. Dominic Cadisco, I'd like to turn the meeting over to you now at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, at this point, the only member of the public that would be here would be Lena Wu. So I think I'm not sure if the reporter has any comments on this particular application, but now would be the opportunity to speak.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't have any comments. I'm just watching for now.
Thank you. We just want to be sure, and be thorough. These, to be quite honest, it's good that we can conduct public hearings during this time and keep things moving forward. But it also is a challenge with the technology. And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no public comment at this time, planning board members have comment. I would move for a motion to declare a negative declaration for the Man 3-lot subdivision.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Frank Galley and a second by Cliff Brown. I'll ask for a roll call vote starting with Frank Galley.
Aye.
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 Let the record show that unanimous to close the public hearing on the Man subdivision. And at this time, we'll open the meeting to both Pat Hines and Dominic Badisco. Gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, I believe you introduced that motion as a motion to adopt a negative declaration. But it was the intent to close the public hearing, or was it for the, which you mentioned at the end, or to adopt a negative declaration?
So the motion will be to declare a negative declaration and to close the public hearing. The second motion, close the public hearing on the Man 3-lot subdivision. Can I have that motion, please?
So move.
Second.
And member, can I have a second by Cliff Brown? I'll ask for a roll call vote starting with Frank Galley.
Aye.
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 Thank you, Dominic. Gentlemen, again, you want to prepare a resolution for approval of Pat Hines and Dominic Badisco. Can you work on that at this time?
We will go ahead.
The only condition that we would have, rather than the standard conditions, is that the electric line be relocated prior to signing of the maps, so that that doesn't create an encroachment on any of the other lots. We're going to accept public hearing comment for a written comment for 10 days, and then this would most likely be scheduled for the August 6th meeting for a final decision.
Dominic Badisco?
That's correct. We'll prepare the resolution for the board's consideration at the August 6th meeting.
Thank you. One more time. Let the record show that this will be an agenda item on the 6th of August, 2020. Thank you.
If I could just ask one question, Chairman. Has the board heard anything back from the highway superintendent regarding the proposed driveway entrances?
Our office has not received anything at this time.
Okay. We have reached out to the highway superintendent, both via email and via phone, and then placed the stakes where the proposed driveway stakes identifying where the driveways would be located. I understand the situations that we've been forward with. Should we just continue to reach out to him to try to get comments back?
Pat Hines, your suggestion?
Yeah, I just made a note, but Mr. Marshall's office can continue to contact him, but I will also remind him that those driveways have been staked.
Okay, I really appreciate that. I understand the situation. Everybody's dealing with different things, but we didn't just want to keep on repeatedly calling and emailing. But so we really appreciate your help.
Yep, I'll contact Mr. Hall as well.
All right, thank you.
Mary, have a happy July 4th.
Same to all of you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The third item of business this evening we have, and we organize my paperwork. The third item of business we have this evening is the Hammond subdivision. Its initial appearance, the 5-lot subdivision located on Plunk Road. It's an AR zone and being represented by Jonathan Chella. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is going to sound like me saying my dog ate my homework, but I was getting ready for this meeting and all the power and internet went out in my neighborhood, so I'm just going off my notes right now. I'm very sorry about this. As stated, the property lies in the AR zoning district, and we're proposing a 5-lot subdivision of a combination of single-family and two-family residences serviced by a public road, or I'm sorry, by a private road. All lots will be serviced by well and septic, and we're proposing two-family residences and 3 single-family residences. The 2-family residences would be on the lots. I'm sorry, on the paper on the right-hand side of the paper, the last 2 lots, while the 3 closest to Cronk Road would be single-family residences. The private road is approximately 600 linear feet, and we reviewed the engineering comments and have no problem addressing all these. The majority of the property is a DEC wetland. We provided we had the wetland delineated, and we had a sign off on the title block on the first page of the subdivision map. Hello?
You had the opportunity to review Pat Hines and McGower House and Etzel's, his review comments?
Yes, I got his comments, and that was the last thing I read them yesterday, and last thing I was able to print out before the meeting. We have no problem. I'll address all these comments. Some of it's most of it's errors, omissions on my part. The one thing, the last comment was if just stating that you guys have to refer to the county planning and to the town of Plattekill, because we're wrong. We have the property is adjacent to the Ulster County line.
Pat Hines, if you take the opportunity, they're all 18 noted comments. Can you elaborate on the 5 or 6 that especially
Sure.
started on?
Sure. Because the project, as it involves the construction of a private roadway, the town of Newburgh stormwater regulations are required to be complied with. So a stormwater pollution prevention plan will be required. One of the things with the duplexes is the town of Newburgh Planning Board has architectural review authority over those. So plans for those will need to be submitted prior to final approval, and an architectural review has to be undertaken. 4 vehicle parking spaces have to be depicted on each of the 2-family lots. I have numerous comments on the septic systems and cleanup items. A private road access and maintenance agreement will be required. Will be required to submit to town of Plattekill during the public hearing process, so they'll be notified as well. And we're looking for some additional detail on the private roadway for the grading profiles and drainage.
Comments from planning board members? Dominic Cadisco, do you have anything to add at this time?
Well, a public hearing will be required, Mr. Chairman, and I think that the issue for the board to decide is whether or not it wants to see a response to comments, including the drainage addressed prior to scheduling the public hearing.
Yeah, we normally don't schedule public hearings until after the neg deck, and I think we need that additional information before I would be comfortable recommending a secret determination.
And Worsted, do you have anything to add this evening?
Nothing from me.
Jonathan, good luck with getting your power returned.
Excuse me, I just have one quick question regarding the 2-family residences. As Mr. Hines just stated, we would need to go through ARC approval prior as part of this, or is that something we can go through after as a separate application? to the planning board.
Matt Hines?
Typically, we do that as all part of one approval. It's kind of a checks and balances. I don't know at what point you would come back to the board. You would have to make new applications for ARB approval at some point in the future if you were to defer that. But normally during a subdivision process of two-family residential, during this process is when we review that architecture.
Okay. All right. So I just want the questions just so I can give the applicant the proper direction. Okay. Thank you very much. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night. Bye.
There isn't any additional items of business which we do not have this evening. I'd like to wish everyone a happy July 4th. And see you all on the 16th of July. So I make a motion to close the planning board meeting of the 2nd of July.
So
So move.
Frank Galli, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dave. A second by Dave Dominic. I'll ask for a roll call vote starting Frank Galli.
Aye.
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 Lights are flickering.
Yeah,
Going?
too.
Everyone be safe. And I think I'm the only one who's traveling at this point. You have a good evening. Be well.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Not everyone
Happy 4th.
Yeah.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Yeah. Take care.